Thank you very much, October, and thanks for organizing this and getting me here. It's lovely to be here back at SSP. Can you hear me? Is that all going okay, or do I have to go higher? Okay, that's better. So I'm Arend Kuster. What I'm going to talk to you very briefly about is some of the considerations and the points we had to tackle when we were thinking of bringing scholarly publishing into the Middle East. So the first one is considerations and the environment in which we operate in, which is very difficult to convene because it's so totally different and so totally, the lifestyle, the way what we do out there is very, very different from the reality is over here. That's, as you fly into the US, you see all this green grass and all those trees. Now, I don't get to see many trees. Most of the stuff I see is desert, and I live in the desert, and I deal with all the dust and the dust storms and the heat which comes with it. So, and then we go about some of the questions and decisions we had to make this all happening. So let's start with some of the considerations for launching this. This, by the way, in case you don't know, is the night skyline in Doha. I tried to do a time lapse of that during Earth Hour, but actually not that many buildings went dark. So that was a bit of a disappointment. But I spent 4 hours at the Corniche doing a time lapse. But that's the way there is. But the considerations you've got to do when you launch journals from over there is that you're dealing with a multilingual, multi-alphabet, and just a very generally multicultural environment. Qatar has got 1.4 million population of 1.4 million, of which 400,000 people are locals. The other 1 million is mostly probably construction workers from all sorts of parts of India, Bangladesh, Philippines, Nepal, wherever they come from. And then you have a very kind of small amount of people who do what we do every day on top of that. But to relate that back, I think recently learned during another paper in the 1950s, or even 19 just to be sure, the population of Qatar was 17,000. So it's a massive explosion, it's a massive expansion, which puts stress on a lot of different levels, from water supply to research supply to literature supply. And that's one of the main considerations we had to take into account when we started for this. But in the past, there used to be something which was called the Arab scientific renaissance, is what they're trying to do at this moment. But I'm just kind of trying to look back, and it's probably not coming out well, but I'm happy to email you that timeline to you. That looks back at the golden age of Arab science. So when you look at it, there were various things which came up. Early 800 appearance of the first Arab Muslim universities. That was 800. When we pop further into this, we see something 850 to 900. There was they designed the first on-off switch. They had astronomical research, and Al-Razi writes the medical book about medieval Europe. So all of that happened in 850, 900. If you then go a little bit further up, you go to Ibn Sina or Avicenna or whatever you want to call him, 950 to 1000, when he wrote the Canon of Medicine, the first real medical encyclopedia. There is, I pull out 2 more things. 1 in 1,000, they noticed that it's actually, he noticed that the orbit of the planets are ellipses rather than circles, and made that discovery. And then, of course, there was a heart discovery on heart research. Anatomy of the heart-lung blood circulation was discovered in Cairo. And then, somehow, for some sort of reason, with the 1492, when the last Muslim society in Spain moved away and changed things. So the question is, what happened? And the question many organizations are asking, how can we bring some of this back? And of course, they've got one big means to get this back. They are investing heavily with large sums, and this is a bit slow today, so I see there should be another slide coming up. Oh, there we go. What used to be a very rich culture is now they're now trying to revive this, and part of that revival is done through the organization I ultimately work for, which is Carter Foundation. And within Carter Foundation, you find a Northwestern, you find a Georgetown, you find a Weill Cornell, you find a Texas A&M, you find a Carnegie Mellon, you find a University College London. A lot of branch campuses started within Carter to really bring in the research. So let's look at something else. This is the languages of the world, and you can see that Arabic is actually the 5th most spoken language in the world. But nothing beats English, because there are 1.4 billion estimated speakers of English. So I would argue, and I work in my second language the whole time as well, I would argue that probably the language of the world is not Chinese, as some people might think. It is probably English as a second language. And that is an important consideration to make when you start publishing from a non-native speaking area, that you're dealing with a lot of people who deal with it in a second language. The other point, which is very interesting, is there is an Arab knowledge report which the Al Maktoum Foundation in UAE published, that overall we just don't have enough books. We don't have enough books, we don't have enough reading, we don't have enough
stuff to offer to our researchers and to our readers to create a love of reading, because there aren't that many books available. For a typical publisher, they would come and have a meeting with somebody. Can you publish my book? Say, yes, I can. How many copies do you want to take? And then they print it. There is not a tradition of editing something before it goes out, and that is something which is very important on our everyday stuff when we work. So there's heavy investment being poured into research. We call it, we're trying to move from the carbon-based economy to the knowledge-based society. And what does that investment look like? So what Qatar does, Qatar invests 2.8% of the not unsizable GDP in research. And the picture I put up is from, I think that was 2 weeks ago, the Qatar National Research Fund, who is the main research funding body in Qatar Foundation, announced the next cycle of NPRP funding. NPRP stands for National Priority Research Program. And NPRP was last year's program. That was $121 million was the budget for it. NPRP 5, which was announced 2 weeks ago, was $140.5 billion. $1 million. So actually the funding is going up, and needless to say, there's also a UREP program, which stands for Undergraduate Research Experience Program. There's a ZISREP program, which stands for Students Research Program. And if that isn't still enough, there's still an extraordinary research program. So they're really trying to move this funding into the society and bring that into the area. However, you have to map things back to ambition and to reality. All these are big numbers, and you just got to bring it down to earth. Has anybody seen this slide before? It's a map of scientific collaborations between 2005 and 2009. It's probably needs to be updated, and China needs to glow a little bit lighter, more in that. But you can see, and I'm going to speak quickly loudly so you can hear me. You can see that the US is quite nicely pronounced here. You've got Latin America here, Europe very nice, India very nice here, Japan over here. You've got this slightly white dot, that's Turkey, and this is a black hole. And we operate in that black hole, and that's why we are over there.
The other thing, the other recommended reading I can give you is there was a global research report from Thomson Reuters on the Middle East in February 2011, where you can see that overall the trajectory is rising in research papers published and research activities, but the overall level, if you compare that to Turkey or Iran, is
much, much lower. We are really, really just getting started. QNRF is just 5 years old, and the first results are just about to come online from it. Now, in this environment, we managed to launch a scholarly publisher. It's called QScience. We also then look at the general market environment when we look around here. We've been in this part quite a while. It's quite disruptive. And the first decision we, of course, made was to go open access, because if our desire is to make our research, or the research which we publish, reach the biggest audience as quickly as possible, open access is the best way of making it, of starting that. So when we look back in June 2009, and this is another reason why we went open access, is we had absolutely nothing. We had no content, we had no journals, we had no advocacy, we had no brand, let alone an impact factor. We really had absolutely nothing, and had to start from absolute scratch. So really the emptiness of the desert was pretty much where we were, and which we are trying to populate. Now we have got a brand, we are recognized, we get invited to speak at SSP, and we get papers, and people see us as trusted and respected, and a place where they can keep their research safely. So what did we actually do in terms of challenges? What were the main challenges which we had to get over to figure out to get there? Lots of challenges. But really the first question for us was, how can we get to this fast dissemination? How can we reach our goals? And we have to accept, and our funders accepted, that English is the predominant language, but how can we bring an Arabic element, a local element, into the research part? The problem with that is, when you look at the Arabic language, there are just simply not enough conventions or terminologies in there. So I very gladly don't speak any Arabic in some ways, and sometimes I'm a little bit ashamed that I didn't manage to pick it up. But whenever I tell somebody, oh, did you like this translation of this? They say, oh, no, this wasn't very good. Then I get it to somebody else to check, and no, this is perfect. And I get to somebody else who says, oh, no, this is not very good. So we claim a little bit of ignorance there, but there are not enough scientific terms around in Arabic. The other very important question is that metadata or machine data, like our biggest reader for all of us is Google. And Google indexes English stuff much, much better than they index Arabic stuff. Therefore, we had to address that. In Arabic, the grammar works totally different. So if you search for bone in an English journal, you also find the hits for bones. Now, that's not going to be the case in Arabic. You've got to find for bones, or you've got to look for bones. So to find both. There's also a bit of a moving feast. It's called Unicode. And Unicode in Arabic does not always 100% work together. So again, that causes another very technical challenge, which we had to overcome. The other thing is, here's a billboard I found the other day in Qatar, and I failed to take it from the road. And I don't always agree with that, but oddly enough, you get billboards which promote education as you drive around Doha. And this is from Qatar University, who say it takes quality to produce standard, to produce research papers, and of course to produce research. And that is another way of how the country is trying to pull this in and to bring this in the English language into the agenda. So we know that English is accepted and read by most of the researchers as the main research language, but there's a big but to it. There's one thing of reading a website. The other thing is submitting an article, operating a website, and trying to find it and trying to use it. So what did we do? We came up with something which we call Arabic abstracts. So whenever an article gets submitted and accepted to us, it goes to peer review. Actually, it gets checked for plagiarism before it goes to peer review. Then it gets edited. We actually copy edit every article, because we make sure that all the references are correctly reported, and that the English is right, because English is not their native language, so there's something which we've got to do. And then we translate the abstract into Arabic. So it first of all gives you the keyword and the Arabic search functionality, which Articon developed for us, our partner in this. It also gives people a way to browse the site and see, should I really bother reading that research article if my English is not that good? And people don't want to admit that their English is not very good. So if you give them an article which is fully translated, first of all, if you're dealing with open heart surgery and cardiology, I don't want to have the legal suit which comes out of it if the translation was wrong. And B, people quite honestly feel almost patronized because they've got PhDs, they went to university, and they say, actually, you can read this translation, and they say, well, you don't think I speak English good enough? And that creates a very interesting juxtaposition, which is changing at the moment through the Arab Spring. There's more drive to get Arab content up. There's activity from Qatar Foundation to get more Wikipedia content up in Arabic, and there's a big contract around that as well. But that's really the way we did that. And when you look for this research published through the international research through the Middle Eastern lens, go to the website, you can find this little thing on the right-hand corner which says move the whole thing to Arabic. And then you have a bit of a mashup, admittedly. Oops, that's a bit too soon. Let's see whether I can move back. But you have oh dear, this totally failed, didn't it? Okay, let's bring that back. Let's bring that back. Sorry about that. I was too quick. I was trying to make up my time. There we go. Sorry, there was a joke in the end. So, there we go. No. What happened? Well, you get the idea. Sorry about that. Let's just put it up here. You have the Arabic abstract. You have the citation record, which still remains in English. So you can put it and you can see it. And you've got all sorts of article tools, and we've got to improve constantly to make this better. We've got some things in the pipeline where we're trying to make this better. But this gives at least people a way to have that flavor. So what we are trying to achieve with that, there we go, is that Rich Roberts made that point. One of our neighbors, if we move down the road, is called Al Jazeera. And Al Jazeera is based in Qatar, also founded by Her Highness Sheikh Moza. And what we are trying to do is, and when you look at what Jazeera did, they reported the major events in the world, but they got a voice by also going to some underreported worlds and bringing other areas into the international stage. So when we publish an article on breast cancer screening in Qatari women, I doubt that any other journal probably would have made that, because it seems to be very niche, but it's a very, very important question in the Arab world. How do you deal with breast cancer screening? We've got an article in peer review which is about AIDS in the Middle East. Now, in most of the countries, homosexuality is banned. So we can have an article on AIDS and AIDS research and AIDS health education in that. And that creates some very, very important and very interesting research areas which really need to get out there, which we are trying to bring to an audience. And with that, I'll thank you for your attendance and listening.
Are there any burning questions?